Why should a king wish to pass as a commoner? If he is the leader, should he not be leading?
Listen to what Shakespeare is telling you about the man, Data. A king who had true feeling for his soldiers would wish to share their fears with them on the eve of battle.
Sir, will I be able to schedule a performance for the crew in the near future?
Let's not rush it, shall we?
Hi, this is Editing Maggie, just popping in briefly before we start here to give a content warning for mentions and a brief discussion of suicide. Hello everyone, welcome back to Fully Functional, a TNG podcast. I'm Maggie, joined by Jeff and Dory.
Yo.
Jeff and I are huge Star Trek nerds. Dory's a Star Trek novice, and we are taking her on our first journey through Star Trek The Next Generation. Today we'll be discussing the Season 3 episode, The Defector. Original air date, January 1st, 1990. So we are officially in the 90s now with the show.
Yay.
Yay. Yes, so as always, we will take it to Dory for the recap.
Okay.
Go, Dory. It's a recap.
Okay, so we start off, to be totally honest, I was super disoriented. I was very confused with this opening initially. So we start with these two guys. They're just like, you know, English accents talking about shit.
They're just Shakespeareing it up.
And yeah, because here's the thing. I didn't recognize, I'm not like the most Shakespeare, you know, like I like some Shakespeare, but I couldn't like pick out like lines like this. And so yeah, they were Shakespeareing it up, and then like Data shows up in a terrible wig and like a cloak, and they're like talking about like the king is still a man or whatever. And then I had to rewind a couple of then they just cut to Picard very out of nowhere. And I was like, what, is this a play? What am I watching? I don't understand. And then back to Data, and then back to Picard, and it turns out that Data is he's like reading Shakespeare to like understand the human condition more. I was like, okay.
All right, to be fair, it's not Picard. It is Patrick Stewart, but it's not Picard.
It just that whole bit. Like, I mean,
No, because I think you're confused, Jeff. She's like, because Captain Picard is there.
yeah.
Oh, that's what you're confused about. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
No, I just like the context of just like I didn't know that it was Shakespeare. Just Data talking with these two guys, and then it just cuts to Picard smiling, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
I think Jeff is confused because one of those random guys is Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's playing two characters in the same scene.
Yeah.
Okay, I did not recognize those people at all.
Good. I didn't recognize it the first time either.
I recognized his voice for sure.
Yes. Yeah, I would like to give props to Brent Spiner in this scene, though, because playing a character who is playing another character is real hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
It was something. So as it turns out, it's the holodeck. Data wants to study Olivier, Brana, Shapiro, and Kalnark.
Shapiro? Son of a bitch.
There's something very kind of, I assume Brana is in like Kenneth Brana, and that's like kind of funny to me.
Yeah.
Just because that feels like too modern in a way.
That was actually
know.
extremely modern at the time, especially since the play that this is from, Henry V, was one that Kenneth Branagh had recently turned into a television movie, like at the time of the airing of this episode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
For the record, all of the Shakespeare actors, like prolific Shakespeare actors from that period, have all kind of worked together. And of course Patrick Stewart had worked with Kenneth Branagh before.
Okay, so then like Riker calls Picard that like, hey, come up, or whatever. So Data and Picard are walking in the hall, and Data snatches his own wig.
Yep.
Oh gosh. Okay, so basically so Data also wants to do like a performance in the future for the crew, which I think is adorable.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Anyways, okay, so there is a scout ship, a Romulan scout ship in the neutral zone, and it's being chased by a Romulan warbird, and they rescue the person inside the ship who calls himself Cetal, and he says he's a low-ranking logistics officer. So they bring him aboard. Also, very random side note, in the credits, there was somebody named John Hancock, and I was like, I didn't realize that's, like, real name. But
Yep.
it's just random aside.
I mean, there's a guy out there named Max Power. At least one.
Yeah.
Okay. Is Max Power like
Maximum power.
something? Oh. Okay.
You okay there, Dory?
No,
Yeah.
it's just... It's fine.
Like, is somebody's first name actually Maximum, though? Like, who?
No, it would be Max, which is short for maximum.
Okay. Anyways. So Cetal's like, oh yeah, there's like a secret Romulan base on Nelvana 3 in the neutral zone. And it has like in 2 days, the secret base can like are planning to attack like 15 Federation outposts, or they're like in like, what is it, proximity that they can do that.
Yeah, they're in striking distance.
So yeah, but they're like, but the crew is not really sure if they like believe him or not, because they're like he doesn't have any proof. He just comes on and he says shit. So man, Cetal is something else. He's like a dick pretty quickly.
Yes.
He immediately is like, so they want to check out his like ship just for like research or whatever, and then he blows it up, and then he's like, you're trying to exploit me, and it's like, bro, you came to them.
Yeah.
You came to them. Like, why you've made your decision to defect, so like why would you? No, it just doesn't make. Like, I get it. He doesn't want to betray his people. He just wants to stop war. It's like good intentions, but like, yeah, no, like I get the like his motivations for all this.
Yeah, but that means he also doesn't want to help his people lose a potential war by giving everything up to the Federation.
Yeah, he just wants to warn this like about this specific thing. Doesn't want to give them like everything.
Yeah. I think he probably hasn't like clicked in that he's like really not going back. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't like matter. But anyways, he calls like Worf a bunch of rude names, and they
calls
bring
him a patak.
So then he brings him into, then he's brought into like his own quarters. And this is just very random, but I do find it interesting that 2 episodes in a row, someone has asked for cold water from the replicator. And it's the same glass both times.
Oh, I didn't even notice that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Because last episode, Marok asks for cold water too.
Well, I mean, why would they have a different glass?
Yeah, I just find it random that like in 2 episodes in a row, they would ask for this in the same, and it ends up being in the same glass and everything. Because like before this, I don't remember anybody asking for water, but it's just 2 episodes in a row. So I'm just finally making the connection. So like Cetal pulls out like this little orange and yellow disc thing from his boot, and up until this moment, I was like, we never get back to that. Nope. I know how they got back to it. I realized that this second. So, okay, there's like a transmission from Starfleet Command that honestly doesn't help that much. All it does is just confirm shit. They're like, the Romulans want Cetal back. Yeah. And then like Geordi makes the discovery that like the warbird really should have been able to catch up to the scouting ship. It was like calculated or whatever. And then Picard questions if Cetal burned himself, because he like when he shows up, he's got like burns on his like face/neck area. Mm-hmm. So they're sort of stuck because like no Starfleet ships can like get to them in time to investigate this base at Nelvana 3. Mm-hmm. So like they're gonna have to just kind of do it themselves. But then Picard's like, Data, I want you to like document this, which truly doesn't go anywhere. They never like mention. I thought like we were gonna have Data document things like literally or something, but it doesn't come up again. But whatever. So then we have Troy and Riker interrogating Cecil, but like honestly, this is not. They're not good interrogators.
No.
They're really not. No.
So they get like nothing, and Geordi and Data have have like an interesting conversation about like intuition and stuff. And honestly, it did make me think for a sec, because like Geordi basically says that, you know, intuition kind of is where it fills the gaps, because we never have like all the facts of a situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I have never thought of it that way, and that's like a really good way to put it in. I don't know. It's kind of an interesting way to explain it. Yeah. So then also they send out a probe, but the probe isn't conclusive. So they're like, I guess we're like schlepping out to the Nelvana 3. Man, my writing sucks. I thought I wrote a 5 for a second. Oh yeah. So then like Cecil's like all bummed, and he's like so he's in 10 forward with Data. Well, he's in 10 forward. Data comes in, and Data's just, oh no, Data's not coming in. Data's just sitting there staring at him. And then he's like, you've come to invade my privacy. And it's like, bro, you're in a bar.
Yeah, you're in a public place.
Yeah, you've chose what? And so
well, it's because he's doing more than, you know, just like watching across.
He's being. Yeah, but it's not invading his privacy. He's still in like a public space. It's just a weird thing for Data to do.
Yeah.
But then they talk, and Cecil's like, I'm never going to be able to see my family again. I'll never be able to like see these specific features on the Romulus and whatnot. So Data comes up with the idea of bringing him to the holodeck. Yeah, I definitely think different taste in the Romulans, because I was expecting for Romulus to look way more different than what they showed in the holodeck. But I mean, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
To each their own. And so then Cecil's like, no, this isn't it. I wish to speak to Picard. Tell him Admiral Cherok wants to speak with him. And it's yes, plot twist. He's not a random logistics guy. He's an admiral. What?
Wow.
So yeah, he's got like a bad reputation, but then they're like, well, you know, one planet's or one world's butcher is another world's hero, whatever, because he like led a massacre on like a different planet or something. Yeah, so Picard is basically like, bro, you've given us absolutely nothing to go with. You want us to save this like situation, so like there's peace. But you've given us absolutely nothing to go off of. You won't give any information. You won't give us proof. And so finally he like gives in. They enter the neutral zone. They get to Nelvana 3, and there's like nothing there. They're like, what? And then gasp, is it possible that the Romulans deceived Jarok to like test his loyalty? Basically, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, surprise, Romulan ships. And then we meet Commander Tomalak, who's like, hey, interesting. He's like, Picard's like, sorry, listen, we want like an apology, because then we'll give that and jet. And Tomalak's like, no, I'd like you to become my prisoners of war.
No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die.
That's exactly what I thought of when he said that.
And then Picard gets like cocky. And here's the thing. I had to watch this scene twice, because I was like, is Picard really risking everybody's ship on board as like a bluff? But then I realized like what actually happened when I watched it a second time. So Picard, it's like surprise again, because the Starfleet couldn't get there. The Klingons have arrived, and they're the backup. Whoa.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, well, we're ready to die. Are you ready to die? We could all die together. This will be death party. But the Romulans are like, yeah, no, maybe next time. Bye. So they leave. And then Jarok realizes all of this was for nothing. And man, this was a bummer of an ending, to say the absolute least. So then he's like pretty distraught, and then next scene we learn that he has killed himself. And I assume it's that little disc thing we saw earlier. Yeah. That he took, and he wrote a letter to his family, even though he knew that, like, it wouldn't be able to get to his family. But then I guess Picard tries to, like, you know, make it all come together of, like, you know, the fact that we had someone here who wanted to risk their lives to try to keep peace makes me think there could be peace in the future. And one day, hopefully, we'll be able to deliver this letter to his family. And it's like, what an absolute bummer. Like, I did not expect it to get, like, quite... Because initially I wrote in my notes, like, sorry, Jarok, you did it for nothing. And then immediately they're like, he's dead. And I just wrote, oh, fuck, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God. Yeah, that was quite a way to, like, end it. And it's sad. And it's like, it's I don't know, Christ, like, what an ending.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, this episode was a lot happened.
Yeah.
Yes.
I rather like this episode.
I have better memories of it than watching it this time around. I do still like it, but there was some background info that I was reading about it that I did think about as I was watching it. The episode's premise was conceived in a memo, and yep, there you go. The story was described as the following. So this is a paragraph. A Romulan defector is picked up as he escapes across the neutral zone. He is a significant enough player to attract the attention of the Federation intelligence, who send an envoy to debrief him. His information is suspect and inflammatory. He could be a plant to provoke the Federation into making a move that could lead to war, which a vocal faction of the Romulans favor. He is telling the truth. This information could save lives if the Enterprise is willing to intervene. But if he is telling the truth. However, it means crossing into the neutral zone and violating their treaty. The Defector gives us a lot of reasons to distrust him. The crew is divided. Finally, Picard takes his chances and finds the Defector was telling the truth. He saves the lives, after which the ironic message from Starfleet headquarters comes, do not cross into the neutral zone. So, I kind of like that version of the story better. The bummer ending that they went for gave me pause. Which is weird because the music doesn't suit the bummer ending. It kind of went with like a happy-go-lucky tune at the very end, and I was really confused by that. But also there's the fact that as they were going through rewrites, apparently what they felt they had with the episode was a really good beginning, a really good ending, and a lot of confusion over what to do in the middle. So one of the things that stood out about this was within the rewrites, there was originally apparently a love story between the Doctor and Jarok.
No.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a fan.
The only scene that remains from that rewrite would be the kind of familiarity, like friendly familiarity that they hold with each other during that scene in sickbay with him. That's the only thing that survived that particular part of the rewrite. But I don't disagree that the middle of the episode feels a little muddled, because I feel like it goes back and forth, making us believe and disbelieve the premise of Jarok's story really well. But the points that are separating there, that are meant to be like character moments for him, I guess, since he's really the character that gets development in this episode, besides a little bit of Data, I guess. I feel like those moments don't actually end up drawing me closer to him because I never trust him. I always think that there's something wrong with him because the way that he presents everything, the way that he's talking, is so completely theatrical. And so much of it turns out to be bullshit. And he knows that, and he's okay with that, because Romulans are theatrical. Romulans like to lie a lot. They're very much like that phrase that Garrick says in DS9, why tell the truth when a lie will do? And, like, I do like him in this episode. Like, I do think he's an interesting character. I just don't want to see him succeed as I'm watching it, and I don't want to feel for him as it's trying to give me reasons to do it.
Yeah, I guess. I didn't get that, to be honest. Maybe because I know this episode already. I didn't, like... I just believed him from the start. I didn't really... I don't know. I didn't get an asshole vibe off of him. I didn't get a thing. Like, I just got, like, someone who is, like, desperately trying to be believed. But still doesn't want to, like, fully betray his people.
But I think that's what makes it difficult for me to believe him, personally, because I know that, like in hindsight, obviously, hindsight is 2020. I know that in
It's
hindsight,
2021.
obviously, hindsight is 2021. Okay, sorry. In hindsight, yes, he is telling the truth from his perspective, and he's wrong. Okay, cool. It's that he goes through so many, what's the word? He goes through so much talking in order to get there that is meant to misdirect. And I realize that's cultural. And I understand that this episode
not
is...
really.
Well, what, misdirecting?
Yeah.
Or you
like,
don't agree that it's misdirecting?
I don't agree that he's... Like, besides telling them a fake identity, what is he telling him to be misdirecting? Besides just not wanting to give up other secrets.
It's not about not wanting to give up other secrets. It's specifically about the way that he'll end up wording. Not in the interrogation. That's never it. It's when it's coming down to him being talked to by Dr. Crusher or Worf or Data, or even in that last scene that he has just sitting there with Picard. There are so many moments when he is trying to redirect it to how he feels about the situation, and I very much agree with Picard in his speech against him. I have no reason to believe you, and you aren't trying to give me a reason to believe you. You're saying, this is true, why don't you believe me?
Yeah, I mean, that's not misdirection, though. Like, I don't know, I didn't feel that way about it. Like, I don't know.
Alright, that's fine.
I just don't fundamentally understand what your issue is.
Alright,
well, I'm having a hard time explaining that any better.
Yeah.
As someone who has never seen this before, I went back and forth whether or not he was telling the truth. Pretty much till like the end.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
But it was also very frustrating because, like, the reason I couldn't decide is because, like, in either direction there is no evidence.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
He's because the thing is, like, when he's talking to Data about his family, he could have been making that up, and like it's not until, like, you know, the commander comes on the screen that it's like, oh yeah, this was like a pure, like, a setup.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I did not like Jarok. I could not stand him. I don't know. Yeah, as someone who hasn't seen it before, I think they did an okay job at, like, keeping it, like, unsure like what the intentions actually were, because I truly wasn't sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like,
I
the
agree
whole
with that.
time is like, it could have been either way. I would have, like, understood going in either direction at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But I just, honestly, I sort of got to a point where I didn't care.
Yeah.
Because I don't like him.
Yeah, they went back and forth too many times also, I think.
Yeah, it also, like, we've also had a scenario where, like, the Enterprise has to do something on their own because, like, backup won't be able to get there in time.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, the stakes, as high as they were supposed to feel, also didn't feel high.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, like, there's been other episodes where, like, you know, the stakes were high, and even though we know nobody's gonna, like, you know, our crew's gonna be fine and carry on, like, I could still feel the tension.
Mm-hmm.
This, like, by the time they revealed, I was like, oh, bummer. Like, not of his death, but, like, of the reveal that it was, like, like a loyalty test. I was like, well, sucks to be you, bro.
Yeah.
But, like, it's like, I just did not care about this guy. I didn't care. There's, like, and yeah, it's funny. They got the, like, I guess, intentions part across pretty well, but,
Yeah.
like, because there was no evidence, though. It didn't like, I wish they would have sprinkled in some like concrete, even like we don't even get like the concrete evidence even when Picard's like, okay, we've got concrete evidence, we never see it. So it's still like, that's why even up until the end, because it's like he still could have given Picard like a bunch of false shit.
Yeah.
Like a ton of false information. It was, yeah. So pretty much Tamarok, that was his name?
Tomalak, yeah.
Tomalak, yeah. He was like, yeah, lulz, set up. Then it's like, oh shit. Okay, so he was telling the truth and he just was fucked royally.
Yeah.
And that's the only time I felt bad for him, is because when it was revealed he was telling the truth and he's been fucked.
Yeah.
But up until that point, I was like, I do not care about this guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't either. Like, I don't give a shit about Jarok. I was just more, like, interested in the situation, and I thought, like, the way, like, I thought the episode was well done. Like, it was, like, I thought the acting was good, and I thought, I don't know, I was just interested to see what happened. But yeah, I didn't care about him, like, at all.
I think that, like, the tension was sort of well done, but otherwise, like, I would never go back to this episode.
Mm-hmm.
This fair. Has not made, like, an impression on me at all.
Yeah, this episode is definitely pointless. I agree with that. Like, after I watched it, I'm like, this episode really doesn't matter.
Because it's one of these episodes where, like, the main plot truly doesn't have anything to do with our crew.
Mm-hmm.
There's no emotional stakes with the bridge crew.
Yeah.
So it's like we're dealing with one person's, like, somebody else is the main character of this.
Mm-hmm.
And my preference is to have, like, one of our people,
be
one of the
main
crew
character.
as, because, like, I love the crew. So
They definitely could have chosen one character to do this from the perspective of, and, like, focus more on that, because, like, even focusing on the dilemma of Picard having to make a decision better would have probably served the episode better.
Yeah.
They did focus on that a fair amount, but it wasn't enough to make that, like, the prime focus of the episode.
I think they also tried to maybe put it, like, sort of on Data, but it wasn't enough on Data to make him feel like, oh, this is, like, relating to Data.
Oh, you know what? I think I actually know why that is. So I was reading something that Ronald D. Moore said about the episode, and essentially what happened is after they did a first draft, the entire writing staff went at the episode. And I don't mean like they each submitted a draft. I mean like they each took part of it and wrote that part and then put it all together.
Oh.
So it could be that that's why it feels a little inconsistent.
That sounds like a terrible way to write an episode.
I mean, if you've got to bang it out real quickly, then I understand the especially something in the middle of the season. I understand the need to maybe do that sometimes.
Sure. It's still a terrible idea.
Yeah. However, I will give you a little bit of disappointment in that regard. So, Dory, the opening Henry V dialogue thing, not monologue. The part of the play.
The scene.
Yes, that was originally supposed to be Sherlock Holmes. Yep, it was going to be Data in the Sherlock Holmes program again. However, they could not go back to it due to legal reasons, because there's a lot of complicated shit around the Sherlock Holmes legality, unfortunately.
Yeah, who owns what, and, like,
yeah,
what the family approves and shit.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned that in our Sherlock episode. So yeah, it's kind of disappointing that's what got left out, but, like, I don't necessarily disagree with what they did put in there, because at least it ended up being thematically fair to the episode. But, like, God, if they had taken that and then spent more time with Picard living some kind of, like, duality to that scene in the episode.
They tried to connect the episode to the play, but it didn't really, like, didn't fully thematically work.
No, it connected to parts of the story, but only if you know more about Henry V, which, if you don't know shit about Henry V, like, I remember watching this when I was younger, and I'm just like, I don't get the connection. And then I read Henry V in my 20s, and I'm like, okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
I've never read Henry V, so, like, I like Shakespeare, you know, It's fine. But yeah, I'm not familiar with this play. I mean, I like Data, and I love when Data's in a costume and doing like I enjoyed that setup. It just was so random that I didn't understand what I was watching because I didn't know, like I couldn't understand why Picard was there, and I just didn't know what I was watching. So like I'd be very, very happy to keep seeing them do Shakespeare throughout the show.
Mm-hmm. Now that I know that's a possibility.
Yeah, now I understand context of it. But yeah, I was like, what the fuck is this episode going to be?
Yeah.
Because I truly, like, when it started, I was like, what are these guys doing? And why is all their roostering at, like, the middle of the night? Like, what is... I do not understand this setup.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not opposed to some Shakespeare. Also not opposed for Data to put on a play.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the dream.
Yeah, I guess, if you're not expecting it, you're like, what the fuck is happening right now?
Yeah.
I thought I was watching Star Trek.
Yeah, it just like, well, the shot of Picard just was so confusing.
This is the middle of the fucking woods.
He's just like smiling. I'm like, what are we watching? Are they supposed to be in, like, I did not even think about the fact it could have been on the holodeck. I just was like, where the fuck are they? What's the accents? I was like, what the I just didn't understand what was happening.
Patrick Stewart suggested it, apparently, and pretty sure it was because he wanted to flex his Shakespearean.
Oh, of course.
And, like, that's great. I'm very happy to see more Shakespeare.
Yeah. I just didn't realize what was happening.
Yeah, and I wholly endorse them. Like, keep wearing costumes. Because I enjoyed Data's costume. Man, I wrote in my notes, I was like, that wig is terrible, and I just like the way he, like, snatched it off his own head.
Yep.
But yes, I am very, yes, the 90s, please bring more Shakespeare. We didn't get, like, a whole lot of other characters this
not
episode.
Really. They made, like, a slight reference to the other episode with Romulans where Worf let that guy die.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Because Dr. Crusher's like, he's like, oh, it's good you have someone with the experience with, like, Romulan physiology. And she's like, yeah, I've had some experience recently. Just cuts to Worf.
Yeah. Oh, Worf. Yeah, Worf in this episode was just, like, shat on.
Mm-hmm.
Jarek was, like, calling him names, and then Worf was like, can we fire Captain? He's like, no. Just wait.
There's a couple more episodes that are, like, meh for me, and then we start getting into, like, the really juicy stuff of season 3.
The next one's actually pretty decent. It's not one I regularly go back to because the guest star actor they have in there I don't like very much. But we'll get into that later. That's obviously not important until Dory sees it.
Yeah, exactly.
Ooh, guest star. I enjoyed, we got a Data and Geordi scene.
Mm-hmm.
I was disappointed they cut that scene short.
Yeah. Also, yeah, because Geordi's saying, like, yeah, like, you use your instincts and stuff, like, to fill in the gaps. And then Data's like, well, what if you don't have instincts? And then he just gets cut off and he never answers Data.
Yep.
So it's like, oh, well, I guess you're fucked, Data.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I enjoy watching this episode is, like, it feels like kind of, it feels a little bit like a Shakespearean drama. Like, obviously, like, not quite to the quality and, like, melodrama of it, but, like, I don't know. I just found it interesting. It kept me engaged and entertained.
Yeah, it definitely did that for me, too. I didn't think it was a slog, but I do think it has inconsistencies, which, I mean, I guess we really nailed down exactly why those are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I believe the actor that plays Jarok has been in Star Trek before.
Not yet. This was his first appearance in Star Trek.
Okay.
He will appear several more times. I don't remember if any of those times are in TNG.
Yeah, because that actor is very familiar to me, but I can never remember, like, what else he's done.
You would recognize him from DS9 as the guy who raised Odo.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
His voice honestly kind of made me think of like the voice that does movie trailers.
Yeah. There's a lot of deep voice stuff in this episode.
Yes,
Like
there
him
is.
talking with Picard is just like, wow, that's a lot going on in the voice department.
Also, they kept using computer notifications for hails in this episode, which was a little strange.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if we ever see that again, really.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, Dory, congratulations. Now you know a little bit about Romulan attitudes and Romulan culture. This would be our first glimpse into it. I would say our first glimpse of many, but they really don't go into them very much throughout Star Trek, which is very disappointing because
Yeah.
they're neat, but they're kind of a one-trick pony.
Yeah, from what I learned in this episode, they're kind of squirrely, but in
Yes.
kind of like an interesting way.
Yes.
Like the concept that like they are going to manipulate, like they're not going to strike first, but they're going to manipulate you into striking first.
Yeah, they're always pulling strings within plans, within deceptions.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like an interesting, like, offensive in a way, is like have somebody else do something first.
Yeah, that's why I always found them very interesting, but they don't...
Oh. Sorry, I was just looking up the doctor's that guy's IMDb that guy's IMDb page, and he was in
Yeah.
the Sting.
He was?
Oh, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Who was he in the Sting?
Motola?
Gosh, I haven't watched the movie in a very long time.
Mottola.
He's not a main
Matola?
character.
Could be Matola. I don't know. I haven't seen the movie in a really long time. I should rewatch that movie. It's so good.
Let's watch it together sometime. It is one of my favorite films ever made.
Done. Let's do it.
Sweet.
Yeah.
We'll have to keep my eyes peeled for this guy. I don't know, like this episode truly just like, I don't know, like I don't have a ton to say just because like I don't know, the story was like fine, I guess, but
Yeah.
I think also like the way it ended just truly kind of sucked the life out of, oh sorry, okay, you know what, that's not how I meant it. I'm sorry, I mean that like, it's the way that it ended was like quite sad, that like it just killed any kind of momentum or anything that was like going on in the episode, to just from like okay to just like, oh, just like dropped the mood really, really like dramatically.
Yeah.
So I just like, it kind of ended and it like kind of left me with like a sour taste, just because like that's so sad.
Yeah.
Like the result of this whole thing, it's just so utterly sad. And man, just I think it's just left me so sour, because like it's truly the worst case scenario. And I truly didn't think this would be something that would happen on Star Trek. I never in a million years would have thought that that this would happen. So like I think I'm honestly just like super surprised, and just like, because I always like sort of, there's like some dark stuff in the show so far, but like nothing that's truly been like, well, other than Yar's death, like nothing else has super been like a bummer. It seems like the show tries to keep it like not light per se, but if there's like a spectrum, it would be closer to the like keeping it light versus the like heavy stuff.
And this one's not keeping it light.
Yeah, like it pretty much was like okay until he realizes that, oh, he was totally like fucked.
Yeah.
And then it just like drops.
Yeah, he
And
just
it's
ruined
like,
his life for nothing.
Yeah, and that, like, I just didn't see any of that coming. It's so sad.
Also, this actor has been in a bunch of Murder, She Wrote episodes.
Oh.
That's why I really like that show, so that's probably why I know his face so much.
Maggie, I sent you the character that he plays in The Sting. It's the reason that I didn't recognize it is because I don't believe you even hear the character's name on screen.
Yeah, that also does not look like him.
No, not at all, because his what do you call it? His head is kind of like partially obscured throughout most of it, and you're not really getting close-ups of him because he's not doing anything like that. Like he's He's a push you around and try to... Oh, wait a minute. Fuck, is he the one who got ripped off at the beginning?
Don't know.
He might be.
We'll do a follow-up. After
Yes.
we watch the movie, we'll do a follow-up. We'll do a follow-up to the Sting corner.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
now you've gotten to know Romulans a little bit. Every Romulan episode going forward will be like this. It'll be like, what kind of lies and deception are we dealing with this time?
I mean, honestly, I think that's kind of an interesting... I kind of like... Not I like that in a villain, but versus, like, just violence.
Yes, me
the, like,
too.
Mind,
Me too.
The mind games aspect of it is, like, I think more interesting versus just, like, going everywhere and just,
Yeah.
shooting everybody. Or
As much as I like it, I think that if we do end up eventually doing Deep Space Nine, then I think both the Cardassians and the Dominion both do that kind of storytelling better.
Yeah.
And they simply have a better, what do you call it? There's a better concept behind the species, like, initial conception in order to do that, because the thing about the way that the Romulans developed in TNG is they're very much based on originally how they were introduced in the original series, and they had to build on that and eventually built fairly far away from it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm okay with that, because the way that they're introduced in the original series, they don't really have a personality as a race, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But it does give them as a species, like, a culture that's relatable and interesting, because the first time that you ever see them in the original series, they're kind of just less violent Klingons.
Yeah. They even use the same ship design as Klingons.
Yeah, but, like, they're all on about, like, honor and loyalty and whatnot, and it's like, sounds like a race you guys have done several times before. So yeah,
Yep.
that's this episode.
Yep.
What's the moral of the episode? Lots of computer notifications. That's the moral of the episode.
Yeah. Yeah, like, this episode is, like, it's a decent episode, but there's really not a lot to chew on with it. There's not a lot
There
to
isn't.
discuss.
No, I agree. I did find it weird that the way that that James Sloyan played the character, he only swings his left arm when he's walking. His other arm, he seemed to be treating it as if it were disabled.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, I found it very strange.
Could be just, like, a weird quirk of his.
Yeah, that could be.
Also, he was orange in this episode.
Yes.
The makeup was real bad.
He definitely had Trump makeup on.
Yeah. He was just straight up orange. And it looked not good.
Romul Orange.
So yeah, I guess we can, let's move on to favorite moments.
I love Geordi and Data together, so I enjoyed Geordi goes, because they're talking about whether or not they believe Jarok, and Geordi goes, well, somehow I think we're going to catch the Romulans with their pants down on Nelvana 3, just like he says. And then Data goes, with their pants? And then Geordi goes, a metaphor, catching them in the act.
Pants.
It's so like side note thing, but just I don't know. Data does pants.
Oh,
down.
Data.
Yeah.
I guess that's it. Well, I like the beginning once I understood what the fuck was happening. Yeah, I guess that's it. This wasn't like an episode. This isn't an episode for me, if you will.
Yeah.
I actually have very few notes on this episode in general. I found it hard to come up with things to say about it, and I found that kind of disappointing, because I was enjoying it, but it wasn't like, ooh, that moment, ooh, that moment, ooh, that moment, or anything. So I gotta say, my favorite moment will be the same favorite moment it is every time that this actor is on screen. It is Tomalak's absolutely perfect shit-eating grin.
I find Tomalak annoying.
I find him annoying too, but I love that shit-eating grin because it's so, like, cheesy villain, and I kind of like that because, like, it's like an element of cheese that remains in the Romulans throughout the rest of their time on TNG that I think they need a little bit of that there.
Yeah, for me, it doesn't cross like go back around enough for me. Like it's like too cheesy for me, but it's not like so cheesy that it comes back around to being fun.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, I don't know if I really have a favorite moment from this episode. It's a bummer, but I like the ending. I kind of like that they went there, you know? I kind of respect that they went there.
Yeah, that was a good choice.
Yeah, but that's about it. I overall, like, if you put on this episode, you will be engaged and entertained, but it's really not, like, there's nothing deeper to it.
No.
Yeah.
Which is weird considering how many layers it tries to be.
Mm-hmm.
Ronald D. Moore described this episode as the Cuban Missile Crisis within the neutral zone, and I'm just like, yeah, when you look more into the Cuban Missile Crisis, it's actually way less interesting than you think it'll be. It was just a lot of tension, and that's kind of what this episode is. A lot of tension, interesting tension, but less depth than you'd expect.
Yeah. Also, didn't the States, like, create that whole situation by, like... I think they put warships, like, off the coast of somewhere, and, like...
It's
basically
complicated.
Yeah.
As somebody who's very left and will definitely not talk up the United States, you know, when I have a chance to, it really wasn't their fault, and it really wasn't much of Russia's fault either.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it was Castro basically trying to swing his dick around and creating an incident in the process.
Yeah, I see.
Because Castro, you know, leader of a small island nation, had recently, well, not that recently, but somewhat recently, led a revolution there, and, you know, made friends with the USSR, and basically, like, strong-armed the USSR into, hey, put missiles here, hey, put missiles here, come on, missiles. And so they're just like, okay, fine, if we keep it quiet, then it probably won't be a big deal, and also having missiles there would probably be beneficial, even if it's a little dangerous. And then, apparently, there was actual talk going on between JFK and, I think it was Khrushchev was the head of the USSR at the time. There was actual talk going on between them, like, not involving Castro at all, even though it was on his island. And they were basically saying, look, we don't want to go to war over this. Yeah, we don't want to go to war over this either. Okay, how can we do this in a way where we both come out looking good?
Yeah, I remember that there was something about, like, basically, like, just the U.S. wanting to save face.
Yeah, that is a lot of it.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. Also, it did not live up to the level of what people thought the Cuban Missile Crisis was. Either.
No. And, like, people at the time genuinely believed, oh shit, it's gonna start now.
Yeah.
And they had every reason, given what the news was telling them and what the government was telling them, that, yeah, this was real fucking dire. But, like, that's how you build it up to make the president look good.
Yeah, I know. I just meant, like, the episode, like, if they were going for Cuban Missile Crisis, they did not succeed.
No, not even remotely.
Yeah.
They did manage to build an episode that was fairly suspenseful, but as you guys both, I agree with how you pointed this out, that it may have been suspenseful, but the stakes didn't actually feel very high.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Dory, we are curious about what you're going to think about the next upcoming episode. The next episode coming up is called The Hunted. And yes, it's an interesting title. Can't tell you if it'll be an interesting episode yet. But the premise of the episode is that the Enterprise is reviewing an application to the Federation from a new world, and suddenly an escaped prisoner breaks out, gets a hold of the Enterprise, and reveals a dark secret.
Oh boy. Oh my god, I can just sort of picture someone trying to take the Enterprise for a joyride.
I mean, Wes did that.
Oh yeah. Oh gosh. So, like, let's say maybe that's maybe this is like part of the so the planet is, applying to join the Federation, and maybe in the conditions is like maybe this prisoner, this guy or person, whoever, was there, and like part of the conditions or something is like, or negotiations is to, return this person back to their planet. And this person finds out about it and is like, oh, fuck that. I'm not going back to my planet. And then sneaks on the, like we know they go on the Enterprise, but they think that the Enterprise is the getaway to get off of the planet. But maybe they don't know. So they realize that the person is gone. And so the Enterprise then is tasked to find the person, and they don't realize the person's on the ship.
Okay.
Is that good enough, or do I need more?
What's the dark secret that he reveals?
Oh, the dark secret. Maybe the dark secret is that this person was set up to take the fall for something that like the government on the planet did, but it was like really, really bad. Ooh. So like maybe the person who originally did it was like high up in the government. They did the thing that caused people's deaths and was like turned out really, really badly. And they were like, we need to set somebody up to take this because we're not going to take the heat for it. So they set this person up because they're like, nobody knows this person because they're from another planet. Therefore, like, who are they going to believe? The hometown, the government, like the people that they know, or this random stranger who's here? Yes, that's what I'm going with.
Nice.
I like it.
Secret conspiracy / murder / yeah.
Murder.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with.
A murder most foul.
Alrighty, well, if you would like to see if Dory's correct, watch along with us and join us for the next episode of Fully Functional, a TNG podcast.
Goodbye.